Coming up today, Korea and Mexico upgrade their economic ties during summit talks in Mexico City. The two countries will work more closely in trade, transport and water management. Korea's political parties are looking to sway the minds of millions of undecided voters with 8 more days before the 2016 general election. First world governments begin investigating possible financial wrongdoing by the rich and powerful following a leak of documents from a law firm in Panama. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Tuesday, April 5th here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, President Park Geun-hye and her Mexican counterpart have wrapped up their first summit talks in Mexico City. The leaders have announced a series of tangible agreements that will take their countries' diplomatic and economic relations to a new level. We are going to connect with our presidential office correspondent Song Ji-sun, who is in Mexico City covering this story for us. So Ji-sun, it does look like this summit, the first between the countries in 12 years, was a great success.
Good morning, Mark. Yes, this could absolutely open a new horizon in Korea-Mexico relations on multiple levels. In a joint press conference held 2 hours ago, President Park and Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto said the two countries agreed to hold a working-level meeting in the fourth quarter of this year aimed at resuming talks for a bilateral free trade deal. This comes 8 years after the talks stopped following opposition from Mexico's automobile and steel sectors. President Park has repeatedly stressed the importance of Mexico to Korea. She said Mexico can serve as a gateway for entering both South and North America. In an address, the president noted how Mexico is Seoul's biggest trade partner in Latin America, but she stressed that there is still room to expand trade through cooperation. The two countries also sealed 34 new MOUs to help Korean companies better engage in Mexico's projects ranging from energy, water management, transportation to infrastructure. As Mexico has always advocated non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, Mexico also vowed to cooperate to fulfill implementation of the latest UN sanctions on North Korea over the regime's nuclear ambitions. On a lighter note, the two countries will expand cooperation in sports, culture, as well as people-to-people exchanges. President Park's last schedule in Mexico will be at the Korea-Mexico Business Summit on Monday evening, and she will depart to Korea on Tuesday local time. And I will keep you updated throughout the day. Back to you, Mark.
Well, thank you, Ji-sun, for that report. Now for some further detail, some more in-depth details on some of the areas that Korea and Mexico have agreed to work on after their summit in Mexico City. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
The Export-Import Bank of Korea and its Mexican counterpart have agreed to provide financial support for Mexican importers of Korean goods and to increase the credit ceiling for Korean subsidiaries in Mexico to $200 million. The immediate beneficiaries are small and medium-sized companies that are jointly advancing into Mexico, as a Kia Motors plant is expected to open there in the first half of this year. With this, the government expects to promote Korean companies exporting to Mexico and their investment in Mexico and establish a channel between the state-run banks for future cooperative projects. The Export-Import Bank of Korea has also agreed to provide useful information with $1 billion to Korean construction companies when they're pursuing projects for Mexico's state-owned electric utility firm through 2018. Korea's Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy and Mexico's Economy and Energy Agency will expand a bilateral committee that was established in 2005 on the resources front to cover trade, investment, and industry areas. It's also expected to increase a cooperation between the two countries in high-valued industries in the energy and ICT sector. The two countries' transport ministries have also agreed to increase their cooperation to share related tech info, experience, and experts. It's expected to increase the participation of Korean companies in the establishment of highways, railways, airports, and other transportation-related infrastructure in Mexico, which have attracted a combined $600 billion of investment from the Mexican government. Korea's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport has also sealed a deal with Mexico's Environment Ministry to form a consultative group of local experts to build smart water management systems in Mexico. The move is aimed at improving water management in Mexico, which has been suffering from water shortages caused by severe drought, climate change, and its increasing population. The smart system is expected to lessen the rate of water leaks in Mexico's old water pipes, currently at 40 to 50%, to somewhere near Korea's rate of 11%. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, boosting economic ties is a major focus of President Park's trip to Mexico. She's accompanied by representatives from 140 Korean companies and business entities. For more on what to expect from the largest business delegation Korea has ever sent overseas, Kim Min-ji reports.
President Park in his visit to Mexico is expected to lift bilateral relations to the next level, particularly on the economic front. Mexico is the second largest market in Latin America after Brazil, with its GDP currently standing at $1.2 trillion. It grew 2.5% on year in 2015 and is projected to post growth in the 4% range by 2018. During President Park's visit, a total of 34 memorandum of understandings are slated to be inked to boost cooperation in trade and investment. The Korean government sees ample opportunities in the market as Mexico is revitalizing its domestic consumption market, as well as pursuing large-scale investment in a national infrastructure project worth around $600 billion, involving various sectors including energy, health, and urban development.
Now that the per capita income is about $10,000 in Mexico, there will be demand for consumption goods, as well as development in social overhead capital and energy sectors. Korea can become a strong partner thanks to its top-notch oil refining facilities, as well as IT industries.
Experts say the inking of a free trade deal is now needed to improve competitiveness and establish a stronger footing in the Americas.
We need to have an FTA with Mexico for better positions in the competition. Mexico is geographically bridgehead to both of the North and South America. And in addition to that, Mexico is a part of the TPP member. So for avoiding future expected regulations from TPP, Mexico is a geographically very important place.
Mexico is Korea's largest trade partner in Latin America, with bilateral trade volume reaching $14.4 billion last year. Down the line, experts see potential for further growth if the two countries can merge Korea's tech skills and capital with Mexico's relatively cheap labor and abundant mineral resources. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, 8 days remain before Koreans cast their vote in the nation's 20th general election. Getting the campaign message on point is crucial this year, as Korea's election watchdog estimates millions of people are still undecided on which party to vote for. For more on how swing voters might make or break a party at this year's poll, Ji Myung-gil reports.
The National Election Commission says that among the 42 million eligible voters, 7.5 million are swing voters with no specific party affiliation. A poll conducted by Gallup Korea from March 29th through 31st also showed that 72% said they would definitely vote on Election Day. That means roughly 25% or 7.5 million people have yet to decide which political party they will vote for. Recent factional strife within the ruling Saenuri Party and the opposition bloc's failure to form alliances were cited as the main reasons for the growing number of undecided voters. According to the Interior Ministry, the biggest voting bloc in terms of age are those in their 60s or older, 23% of all registered Korean voters, followed by voters in their 40s and their 50s. Political analysts say people in their 20s and 30s are critical of the government and the ruling Saenuri Party because of the employment crisis. People in their 40s were found to exhibit a tendency to vote based on practical concerns rather than conservative or liberal affiliations, as most have to shoulder the economic burden of educating children, supporting parents, and preparing for retirement amid job instability. However, people in their 50s and 60s that are economically stable tend to back the Conservative Party. Despite that fact, political parties generally devise campaign pledges targeting voters in their 20s or 30s or 50s and 60s, rarely coming out with strategies targeting people in their 40s. Kim Young-git, Arirang News.
Now, it turns out that North Korea actually launched 3 surface-to-air missiles into waters off its east coast last week instead of the one that was initially announced. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff previously stated that North Korea fired 1 surface-to-air missile from South Hamgyong province last Friday, but it was later known that the North fired 2 more missiles of the same kind following the first launch. However, South Korea's military did not reveal the information immediately, since it has only been disclosing detailed information on ballistic missile launches which are banned under UN resolutions on the regime. Sources say at least one of the missiles launched last week missed its intended target. Now, dictators and elected politicians are among the big names in the frame, accused of tax evasion and money laundering in Panama. Our Hwang Ho-jun takes a closer look at the main figures to emerge in the so-called Panama Leaks scandal.
One of the biggest data leaks in history has exposed the details of offshore accounts held by current and former world leaders, including the president of Argentina and Iceland's prime minister. 11.5 million documents were leaked from the very secretive Panamanian law firm Mossack Fonseca, a company notorious for providing tricks of the trade to the super rich, helping them launder money and avoid taxation. The files passed to a German newspaper and were later shared with the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, a non-profit media organization based in Washington. Dubbed the Panama Papers Project, the ICIJ's exposé also reveals a suspected $2 billion money laundering ring linked to associates in Russian President Vladimir Putin's inner circle. Chinese President Xi Jinping, who has pushed anti-corruption efforts in his own country, popped up in the report. According to the files, his brother-in-law established 2 paper companies in the Virgin Islands. Other big names include the King of Saudi Arabia and football great Lionel Messi. There were also files on entertainer Jackie Chan, but like many other of Mossack Fonseca's clients, no evidence of wrongdoing was found. The Korea Center for Investigative Journalism also confirmed that No Jae-hoon, the eldest son of former South Korean President No Tae-woo, was listed in the report as having set up 3 paper companies in the Virgin Islands. He is among 195 Korean names with Korean addresses that were found within the data.
We can't just generalize all of these people as being involved in illegal activities. Once we confirm that a person did indeed do something illegal and is a public figure, we would consider that information newsworthy and make it public.
The KCIJ says it plans on carrying out further investigations and will accordingly publish names on the list once allegations are confirmed. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Now, the International Monetary Fund says global market spillovers from China's economic shocks will increase in the coming years as the country's financial influence over the world grows. The IMF said Monday that developments in emerging markets now account for 1/3 to 40% of the variation between stock market returns and exchange rate fluctuations worldwide. Now, slowdowns in China's economic growth and industrial output impacted global financial markets last year, causing prices of equities and commodities to plunge in emerging and advanced economies. The IMF says markets have become extremely sensitive to the economic signals coming from China and that policymakers there must not send mixed messages. However, despite China's market influence, spillover risks from the country's stock market remain modest. Spillovers from the more globally integrated equity markets in Brazil, Chile and Mexico were found to be greater than that in China and India. Now, Korea wants to develop a supercomputer that can process information up to 5 times faster than AlphaGo, Google's AI system that beat Grandmaster Lee Sedol in a 5-game series of Baduk, or as it's known internationally, Go. For more on Korea's very ambitious goal, Kwon Jang-ho reports.
South Korea's Science Ministry announced on Monday that over the next 10 years, they will be investing almost $90 million to develop supercomputers that compete with the world's elite. The ministry aims to accomplish this feat by the year 2020, developing a computer that has a processing speed of 1 petaflop. That's a quadrillion operations per second. To put that into context, the average laptop currently has less than 1 teraflop, or 1/1000th of a petaflop. Even the supercomputer behind AlphaGo is only believed to run on 0.2 to 0.3 petaflops. But in the supercomputer game, Korea has a lot of catching up to do. The first petaflop supercomputer was built by IBM in 2008, and currently the fastest is China's Tianhe-2, which can clock over 33 petaflops. Korea has never built a petaflop supercomputer before, but local scientists are confident that once they create one, they will be able to develop a 30 petaflop supercomputer within the next 10 years. But that's only feasible if their government thinks long-term and the funding keeps going for the full 10 years.
There are cases where funding stops midway or the plan changes, but as long as nothing unexpected like that happens, then we should be successful.
Supercomputers traditionally do not have much commercial value, but they can be important for a company or government to become key players in the technology field.
Supercomputers help in the development of servers, PCs, and mobile device technologies. If Korea does not develop and invest in this kind of technology, it could cause difficulties for the country to compete globally in the long run.
Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Tuesday morning here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching. And just a reminder that our new news show, News Break with Han Da-an, is coming up at 10 a.m. Korea time. And I'll be back at noon Korea time. So until then, goodbye.